Hey everyone, it's Melody with Design by Melody. I'm here with the Thoughtful Studio design team, and today we're actually diving into some Christmas papers. So I have an idea that we're going to work with today, as well as my design team post for 2 weeks from now. These are going to be my last regular post for the Thoughtful Studio design team. I am now transitioning into a special projects kind of role with them and not regular posts. So you will still see stuff from me for Thoughtful Studio, but before I go, I have to make sure that I work with this Christmas kit because it's super cute. And I've always wanted to do December Daily. That is a project that has been going on for years, but I've just never really pre-planned it enough to be able to make it happen. So this year I'm going to do my take on it, which is to make a December Traditions album. Now this is not going to be a daily post or anything like that, but it's going to be an album where I post pictures, make pictures. Not even make pictures. Wow, why cannot not think today? It's going to be an album where I make layouts, including pictures from some different December traditions that we have as a family. Now this year is going to look a little bit different. We're not going to be doing a lot of our same regular traditional things, so I am also going to pull in some photos from previous years. And since I'm going to do that, I'm going to go ahead and start it now because I have these beautiful papers to work with, and I have some photos from the last couple years. So I run an Etsy shop and I make a lot of handmade items and handmade gifts. So I have a couple pictures from some Christmas shows that I did at different community centers. Those won't be happening this year. They've already canceled them all. So I pulled out some pictures from last year's. I did multiple events a week for November and December. So it's usually a really big thing for me. So I pulled out two pictures from those. I also pulled out a picture of a fire pit of us with some friends. And then I also just pulled out a picture of Kalen with his Christmas PJs. So I'm not exactly sure which one we're going to do today, but I do have pictures already printed for 3 layouts in this album. Now this album is an album I'm making myself. I am using, this is my Levenger system. I'll show you what it looks like. So it's Levenger, and what it is it makes the disc bound punches. It's this giant punch, and it's really big enough to do 8.5 by 11. I think it's maxed at 11 inches, but it punches the little disc holes where you can make your own albums with disc. Now I have a whole bunch of, I probably have 7 or 8 sets of disc, and I have a couple covers. But if you don't have covers, you can buy this punch as a single punch, especially at Michael's or on Amazon. Levenger, I've tried a couple different ones, and Levenger is definitely, it's a little bit pricier, but it's one that I've had for years. Actually, I got it from my sister, and she used it for years in a professional capacity. She used it at her office when she made notebooks for her office. So this heavy duty, it's very heavy. This thing's probably 10 pounds. If you're going to use the disc bound or system like this, I highly recommend investing in the Levenger punch. It's really worth it. Now, these are covers that were used for different notebooks that have been taken apart, but you can also make your own covers out of chipboard, or if you have some of these plastic sheets. I can't remember where this came from, but this is packaging for something that I kept, and it's just kind of a plastic sheet. It's really glossy on one side and kind of rough on the other. So I'm going to make my own cover for a different project I'm doing, but for this December Traditions album, I'm actually just going to use this pre-made cover I already have, and you can buy these covers as well as the disc on Amazon or at Michael's. Even at Walmart has some of them. So we're going to flip through this collection real quick, and then we're going to get starting on a layout to go. It's going to be the first layout in this album. So this is the Yuletide Tessa collection. You're going to see I have a set of vellum sheets as well as a set of printed sheets. So I'm going to show you the printed sheets first, just because it's easier to see the images on video than it is on the vellum sheets, but I have the same thing in vellum, which is really kind of a fun option to use. So ignore the basketball sounds in the background. Being that I work from home, my husband works from home, and our son does school from home, our house is so loud all the time. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. I have my door shut and everything, and it's so loud in here. So ignore that if you can hear that. Okay, so here are the Yuletide Tessa patterns. It's this really beautiful kind of minty green, almost aqua green. aqua blue, whichever way. The vellum sheets are a little bit more green, and these were printed on a bright white. These are a little bit more aqua, so it just kind of depends on what you print on. So I've got that one. It's got the little like cocoa mugs. Ooh, which reminds me, I have a picture of this, which is like a coffee cup with, I had made last year, one of the things that I made a lot for our little shows were to do little coffee cozies. So that's what that is. I had taken a picture of it, Kaylin holding it in front of the Christmas trees in the background. I thought it was a really pretty picture. Got this one with the florals, the little birds that make me think of like doves, sweaters, Christmas ornaments, cut apart sheets, as well as like some swatches of the papers, and we've got some to and from labels, and those have some cream on them as well. This one is a cut apart sheet. You've got some circles you can punch, as well as some words. I think that's really pretty. May your days be merry and bright. Some larger tags that you can punch and use, or fussy cut and use, and then again another set of tags or like ornament looking things, but they're smaller. So I'm not exactly sure what we're going to work with yet, but I'm going to go ahead and put this video, I don't know if I'm going to do fast forward or not. I kind of like being able to talk to you as I go. So I might end up fast forwarding part of this and doing a voiceover, or it may be all live. We will see. I'm not exactly sure. So we've got our papers here. Let me measure and see how big we need to cut these papers. And that is the exact point where it got too loud in my house. So I have sped up this part just a little bit, not too fast, but just a little bit, so I can go ahead and do a little bit of a voiceover and let you watch as I'm creating. So the papers to fit this particular cover are 8 1/4 by 6 inches. So whenever you're using the Levenger punch or any kind of disc bound system, you need to line your paper flush with the edge that has your punches. And then I like to leave about a 1/4 inch gap on the other sides of my papers from the cover. So it probably could have been a little bit bigger if I wanted my papers to go all the way to the edge of the covers, but I don't. I like to leave that 1/4 inch kind of around. So I'm cutting my papers to fit this particular cover at 8 1/4 by 6 inches. So 6 inches wide and 8 1/4 tall. Now I have my photos, and I've decided to go ahead and work with the ones for the Christmas shows or Christmas shops that I do each year. And I actually was thinking about this as I was creating this layout. I'm really going to miss that this year, but I think there's a couple virtual ones that I might be able to participate in, which it's a little different, but it's still kind of fun to do. I really like doing the Christmas shows or Christmas shops. It's just fun because a lot of different vendors get together, and we have, Christmas music playing, and people are there shopping, and it's just very festive. I really enjoy that time of year, especially being a shop owner and creating things for gifts. It's just kind of fun. It's something I have enjoyed doing for a couple years now. I've decided to go ahead and go with this floral paper. I think it just looks very nice, and it's not quite as busy as some of the other papers, so I felt like my photos would actually stand off the page a little bit better with this paper versus maybe one of the other paper options. Now the photos I'm using are both very busy. They have lots of colors. One of them is kind of an overview photo of my little booth that I had set up. And then the other one is just a picture of Kaylin holding the coffee cozy in front of the Christmas tree that was set up in the area that we were doing our shop at that particular event. So I wanted to make sure that you'd be able to kind of see the photos and they would not be competing with the paper background. So I went ahead and punched my holes just to make sure that I don't put anything too close to the edge. The disc bound punch only goes, it's not even a 1/2 inch into the paper. It probably is like 3/8 of an inch. Yeah, probably about 3/8 of an inch into the edge of the paper. So it doesn't take up a lot of space. You would actually think that it would take up more space, but if you were using a 3-ring punch, if you're putting it in a page protector, obviously you don't have to leave any kind of border for the area to be punched. But if you're putting it in like a ring bound system, usually you have to allow more space than this. That's why I really like the disc bound system as an option. I've kind of went to this a little bit more. I got tired of buying page protectors. I felt like they were so expensive, and I feel like giant 12 by 12 albums and like 9 by 12 albums, as fun and as beautiful as they are, they're expensive. So I've really kind of gotten more into using traveler's notebooks or creating my own albums. a lot more this year, and I've really kind of enjoyed that process. I don't feel like I've used 12 by 12 ring bound albums for like 7 years. So I'm not going to say I feel like it's not me anymore, but I feel like I just needed a change is really kind of my view on that. So I pulled out a little bit of skinny silver washi tape to create a border at the top and the bottom. I usually have a couple, I was going to say spools, but that's not what they are. A couple rolls, there we go. A couple rolls of washi tape sitting on my desk. I usually try to keep 3 or 4 out, and I usually am trying to keep ones that are almost gone or at least halfway gone so I can utilize them and they don't just get lost in my stash. I usually keep quite a bit of product actually on my desk, and it's usually things that I've used for other projects and I may have been partially used, so I just want to make sure I use them and they don't get kind of like sifted to the bottom of a drawer and forgotten about. So you will see when I am creating on any project, you start to see some of the same products pop up over and over again, and then all of a sudden they'll be gone and you won't see them again. And that's because when I'm creating projects, when I open a package and I use a good amount of it, I don't want it to just sift to the bottom of a drawer and be forgotten about. So I'll leave it on my desk until I use all of it or get tired of it. That's kind of the way that's my system. So I'm constantly pulling in additional products to kits that I'm working with. And the same is with this paper collection. So I have the paper collection, but I am pulling in things like alphas. I'm going to pull in some enamel dots. I'm going to pull in a few paper scraps, just like solid paper scraps. And then this washi tape to complete this page. At the end, I am going to come back and do a live share with you of what I've created. And I am going to tell you about an additional idea I have for adding some journaling. So I'm not going to add journaling to this page because there's really not a whole lot of journaling to be added. It's just I do these Christmas holiday shops every year and I wanted to document that. So I'm going to tell you an idea I have about actually including a little bit of journaling. So I've got my title here and it just says holiday shops, and those are some circle alphas. They were out of a Rosie Studio sticker book. But I really like that bright red. And I was starting to look through my paper scraps trying to find another pop of red. And I found this one that's like pink and red and it says, "Tell me something good," which I actually really like that. But with the way that the border is, it would have to go at the bottom, and I need something to go at the top because I already have this tag that says Happy Holidays that I'm going to put at the bottom. Again, thinking about the photos and how they are standing off the page, I'm going to mat my photos on a little bit of this glassine bag. I always keep these types of packaging to use for in my scrapbooking, even though it's really truly packaging. It's not a scrapbooking product, but it's a great way to use or a great thing to use as a paper layering element. So I'm just going to put those behind my photos, and it again will help just give a little bit of definition and separation from those photos and the background paper. When I was flipping through my scraps, I found this bright red just piece of paper. It was cut off a card I used for another project, and I just didn't need the red strip that was on it, so I cut it off and threw it in my paper scrap bin that sits on my desk. And I'm just going to layer it on the bottom part of this tag, and it just brings in a little bit more of that red at the bottom. I was trying to make this Tell Me Something Good to work, but it just doesn't work on this page, and I'm going to end up finding something on the cut apart sheet that is included in this collection to add to the top. I found this paper scrap of this white and gray stripe, and I'm just going to cut little slivers off of it and use it under each of the photos. It kind of gives a way for the photos to not look like they're quite floating on the paper, and it brings in another bit of that gray. Even though the washi tape is actually silver, the gray kind of mimics that same color. Now, it's such a skinny little piece of paper. It's a little bit difficult to get it placed up under the photos, but I will get it situated. And you'll see on the second photo that I do it totally crooked. So I actually have to fix it. I was just eyeballing it and I didn't realize until I put down the gray piece quite how crooked my photo was. So I ended up having to go back and fix it in just a second, but I will share that with you. I am definitely a true scrapbooker. I like to keep all of my paper scraps. This little pile you see to the right, those are the ones that will get recycled or pretty much recycled because those are all papers. But I keep see how crooked that photo is. I end up pulling out my T-square ruler to kind of straighten it out because I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is mega crooked. But then every time I fixed it, it kind of looked crooked still, so I just wanted to make sure that it was straight before I like re-adhered it down. Of course, I like really put some glue on the back of that photo, so it took me a second to pull it up, but I've got it all situated now. So I really wanted to pull that pink red up to the top just to bring another red onto the page, but it's not going to make it. And I end up cutting out this cut apart piece, and it says, "Wishing you the happiest holidays." And it's just that teal one with the stitched border around it that has that in the middle. And it's going to bring another little element up here to the top. Now we are nearing the end of this layout. I am going to add a couple enamel dots just to add another element onto the page. I think enamel dots are a great way to kind of sprinkle something about. I'm really an advocate for sequins, but a lot of times I don't like to take the time to glue sequins down, and I don't like that you don't get a ton of size variation in sequins. Usually you get one size, or you may get a mixed pack where it has different sizes, but each size is a different color. So I actually don't use sequins quite as much in my layouts, though I really do love them. I love the way that they look. I actually like them better than enamel dots. I just like the size variation of enamel dots. I really wanted to pull in some red enamel dots, but I didn't have a color that matched. The only thing I had were those hearts, and they were more of a bright red. Then I thought about pulling in silver, but it just kind of blended in with the background. So I'm going to end up pulling in these matte black ones, which are really they're a fun color. Now you see me like placing them, and I don't really push them down, that way I can move them, and then I forget to push them down and a couple of them fall off. So I have to go back and place them again in just a second. But I'm just kind of mixing them around the page, mixing a couple of the different sizes. And then this layout is actually going to be done. I really like how simple it is, but I also think it's a great way that I have included different ones, like different photos in, oh, see, that's where they started to fall off because I hadn't pushed them all the way down. And then I realized, wait, there's a missing one at the top too. So I went back and pushed them all down to make sure that they weren't going to fall off. But I really like the December Traditions album idea because I can document some of these stories that are things we do over and over again, so I don't always snap pictures of them. But it's a great way to include it together. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of what this turned out to be. Okay, I'm just going to pop back on here real quick. I sped up the last little bit for you so you didn't have to hear all the basketball dribbling and everything else in my house. But we are done with the layout. I have used one of the background papers, and I trimmed out a couple of the embellishments. I added some letter stickers here, just some little circle ones, and some matte black enamel dots, as well as a silver washi tape, and just a few other little bits of scrap to bring in a little bit more of the red, as well as a little bit more of the gray. So I really like this. It's fairly simple. It just says holiday shops, but I don't really need any explanation because I do this all the time, each season, so it's not like it needs a lot of description. Now, I have played around with the idea. I haven't totally made this decision, but I have played around with the idea of having a journaling page opposing each picture page. And I'll probably make this decision before I do the next couple layouts, but I could very easily write up kind of like just a little bit of journaling to go along with this, just to kind of describe. I also have the option of putting a tag behind each page to pull out and be able to read the journaling and tuck it back in. I don't really know. I'm just kind of going along with this album however feels natural and fluid to me, and just make it fun. All right, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I will have in the links below, I will have links to the shop so you can go purchase this collection for yourself as well. And then make sure you are back here on my YouTube channel in 2 weeks. I will have another layout using this same collection with Thoughtful Studio with another Christmas layout. Okay, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this, and I will be back soon with something more. Bye!